Welcome to um, Scope Parent Training Workshop Series. My name is Ashwini and I'm joined on this call by Shitija. Here's a little information about Scope. So it is an initiative of SKN Foundation with a mission to support South Asian families of children with disability through activities that educate, advocate, and empower. SKN Foundation provides educational workshop as a general information to the community. Attendees should always consult with their own provider for advice their child need. Today we are talking about how nutrition um, can boost cognitive function and learning in neurodiverse children. We will be exploring the link between gut health and cognition, key nutrients for brain development, practical tips for nourishing young minds, and also a little bit about special diets. Meet our speaker tonight, Dr. Kalindi Bakshi, founder of Plantology Fuel and economic development specialist for Middlesex County, New Jersey. She integrates her background in neuroscience and nutrition to advocate for community health and wellness. As president of the New Jersey chapter of World Vegan Vision, she heads initiative promoting women's wellness and chronic disease prevention through holistic approach. Personalized coaching empowers individuals to achieve their health goals, and she previously hosted Deliciously Plant Based to inspire healthier cooking. Dr. Bakshi is a dedicated advocate for accessible health education and wellness initiatives. Family, feel free to post your questions for Dr. Bakshi in the chat, and we will get around to them during the Q&A session, following the presentation. We also kindly request you to participate in our poll to share your feedback and suggestion on our workshop. With all that said, the floor is all yours, Dr. Bakshi. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Ashwini, for the introduction, and wholeheartedly thankful to SKN Foundation and Scope for inviting me to present something that I'm truly passionate about, hoping that, something that I share, the passion that I share, I can share with the rest of you. So I'm going to start with talking about neurodiversity, and as Ashwini said, my background is in neuroscience, and I have done years of research in neurodevelopmental and neurodegenerative disorders. And then I have background in entrepreneurship through food, my love for food and nutrition. So that's what I'm sharing with you guys today. We will, if you guys can have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and then please, or wait towards the end of the talk. We'll have some time to go over that. Having said that, I'm going to start sharing. So the title for today's talk is Brain Food, supporting neurodiverse cognitive development. And mostly the talk is focused around, autism spectrum disorder. Also, some of this can be, applied to also neurodiverse conditions like ADHD. But when I'm talking about neurodiversity, I'm mostly focusing on ASD. So ASD, autism spectrum disorder, is a neurodevelopmental condition that impacts behavior, communication, and social interaction. So the word spectrum, as you all know, is, it means that there is no single thing. It comes with a wide variety of characteristics and combinations and degree of severity. Any genes involved, research so far does not point to any single gene. When the study of human genome was completed in 2003, We were hoping that that would shed light on genes that were implicated in neurodevelopmental disorder or or any neurodegenerative disorders. Fortunately, unfortunately, our brain is a very compact and complicated structure. So it is highly interconnected. Therefore, there was no single gene, or so far there is no single gene that has been associated. And there is involvement of multiple genes, but also, as the spectrum varies between individuals, there are multiple different genes involved in different populations. Brain alteration in multiple brain areas and connectivity. So brain connectivity, or brain structure and function has been shown in ASD to be altered in multiple brain areas. The difference include, connectivity in different regions, chemical neurotransmitter emission that is affected in different region, and how the brain structures or different areas of the brain connect with each other. So again, this increases the complexity of ASD. There's alteration in multiple brain areas. The connectivity is different within different groups of individual. All these together represents, or comes together and with the term neurodiversity. So the term neurodiversity advocates for recognizing and respecting neurological differences as natural variation of the human brain, much like we talk about biodiversity in nature, right? So we all have different kind of circuitry, and especially when we are talking about ASD, that the neurodiversity difference in brain connectivity, difference in brain circuitry, says that every individual is unique. And that's why I love the term neurodiversity, because it rightfully points out to individual differences within our brain structure. And so I found this beautiful quote which says, if we accept that each human is a unique individual, then we already accept that the premises of neurodiversity or the brain diversity. Okay. Having said that, to understand the difference, or to understand neurodiversity, one must go back and look at what are the cognitive functions, right? Or to understand what areas are affected in, ASD, we have to understand the key cognitive or higher order functioning. So cognitive function, it refers to a range of mental processes, and these processes enable us to carry out tasks, make decisions, solve problem, and how we interact with the world. Some of the attention being one of them. Attention, the ability to focus on tasks for a period of time. Memory, there's short-term memory, long-term memory. Executive function, which refers to higher order functioning, or cognitive processes that control other functions, right? Including planning, decision-making, problem solving, inhibitory control, switching from one task to another, and then cognitive flexibility, which is our brain's ability to adapt to changes or changes in situation. Language, perception, reasoning, problem solving, all these come under cognitive functioning. And then as I'm listing functions, we can relate it to, ASD or ADHD, and thinking how many different areas of brain come together, or how much connectivity the, different areas of brain require to create, to kind of take care of this multitude of functions, right? So there are, as I said before, there are multiple areas and multiple connectivity within the brain that is affected in ASD. However, some of the areas I'm highlighting some of the areas that a lot of different studies have over and over shown changes, and some of the areas which we can kind of relate to the symptomology of ASD. So one of the area known as amygdala, which is an almond-shaped structure which is seated in the midbrain. Now, why amygdala? Because amygdala is central to regulate emotions. particularly processing certain emotions like fear and pleasure. And in ASD, the studies have shown there are differences in how the amygdala processes social and emotional cues, right? Which contributes to, like, kind of challenges in understanding emotions. Then the other area, which is orbitofrontal cortex. Now, this area of the brain is associated again with emotional experiences, reward processing, decision making, and also making decisions based on a reward, like, your anticipation of whether this is a rewarding behavior or this is a, punishing behavior, right? And then differences in orbitofrontal cortex function uh, can lead to challenges in understanding social context or social rewards and making decision based on what kind of feedback, what kind of behavior you show, and what kind of feedback you're going to get, right, based on your behavior. Other areas are temporoparietal cortex, which is associated with crucial for empathy, sympathy, ability to understand someone else or others' mental or emotional states. Then, difficulty in interpreting somebody else's, like, other person's emotion. Also, temporal cortex plays a very big role in processing language or social cues associated with language. Other region is insula, and all these are not single region, except amygdala can be pointed to. All these are a combination of multiple brain areas. And insula, which is associated with body awareness, emotional processing, decision making, and then, the social emotions, and also like some of the sensory effects, taste, smell, and motor control. So as you can see that these four, areas, which are again combination of several different regions of the brain, have been implicated by multiple different studies in the literature that have been affected in ASD. Okay. Now to make it further, the next step is what I spoke about is about the structures in the brain. Now, next step is the chemicals that connect the brain, or chemicals that help in, sort of messaging throughout the brain, which are known as neurotransmitters. Now, different neurotransmitters, again, have been implicated in ASD. In the literature, the most common ones are GABAergic, which is gamma aminobutyric acid, also known as an inhibitory neurotransmission. So your brain is constantly, there is constantly electrical activity that goes on in the brain. Neurotransmitters or chemicals, these are these are associated with relaying messages in the brain. So GABA is the inhibitory neurotransmitter. Now, a lot of studies have pointed, and especially animal models have shown that, the GABAergic transmission, or transmission through this specific neurotransmitter, which is supposed to inhibit impulses in the brain, has, that transmission is reduced in ASD. And these studies have also been confirmed by brain imaging in human population. Now, and the other neurotransmitter system, glutamatergic, which is an excitator neurotransmitter. Some studies postulate that there is a higher amount of excitation, which is glutamate transmission, and there is a lower amount of inhibition. Other studies say that because there is lower amount of inhibition in the brain, the chemicals that are responsible for inhibiting impulses, it is compensated by a higher amount of excitation. Regardless, what has been shown is both the neurotransmitter systems have been affected in ASD. The other neurotransmitter, serotonin, which plays a very important role in emotions. It plays very important role in social skills. That also shows, such studies have also shown that there is a change in that neurotransmitters. Then other sets, catecholamines, example, dopamine, which is known as to regulate neuromuscular junctions or motor functions. That has also been shown to change. acetylcholine. That was acetylcholine, which regulates motor functions that have been shown to change. Catecholamines, which is dopamine, which regulates the reward pathway. That also has also been shown to be altered. So in short, there are the different neurotransmitters that are implicated in, different individuals show different changes in these neurotransmitter systems. And there is a lot of crosstalk between all these systems in the brain, right? Okay. So this was just a little blurb on changes, functional, structural, and functional changes in brain. Now I'm going to switch gear and talk about what, the main thing today, what we're going to talk or understand from this is the gut and the brain connection. So gut, as we all know now, is also known as our second brain. Why? Because the gut is the enteric nervous system. So our brain, our spinal cord, they are the central nervous system, and our gut has been for years, it has been known as the enteric nervous system. The reason being our gut, and when I use the word gut, I'm generalizing it for the entire digestive system. Our gut has its own neural network. And that neural network functions independently, and also it functions, in coordination with our central nervous system. And they are directly connected with each other by what is known as the vagus nerve. So vagus nerve is a nerve that runs from the brain all the way into our digestive system or gut. And our gut, now that we know from years of a decade's worth of research, that our gut has an amazing collection of something known as microbiome. Now, our microbiome is so unique that we have our microbiome, which consists of microorganisms which live within our gut or within our body. Bacteria, yeast, fungi, they all live within our body. And our microbiome we have about 4 to 5 times microbiome or microbiota living within us than the number of cells that we have. It's been said that we have about trillion of microbiomes living within us, more than the stars in the galaxy. And they all all the microbiota come together to make what is known as microbiome. And our microbiome is very unique. And our microbiome, which resides in our digestive system, now is known to have direct connection with our central nervous system or brain, famously known as the gut-brain axis or microbiota gut-brain axis. And what happens is the gut microbiota have a diverse population of these microorganisms, and they can directly send signal to the brain through the vagus nerve, and they can receive messages from the brain through vagus nerve. So emerging evidence now shows that there are changes in the gut microbiota in neurological disorders like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, also, depression and neurodevelopmental disorders. So it is extremely important, that this says it is extremely important to maintain a healthy gut microbiome, which is crucial for our well-being, not just for our digestive well-being, but also for our emotional, mental well-being. Okay, so what has this to do with ASD? So we have already established, or literature has already shown the changes or alteration in different brain areas, in different neurotransmitters, chemicals in the brain. And now, more evidence also shows that in ASD, is manifested by a lot of GI or gastrointestinal symptoms. So gastrointestinal systems, GI symptoms are known to be comorbid, or ASD, individuals with ASD have a very high incidence of GI symptoms such as constipation, diarrhea, abdominal bloating. So what research says that there is a big interplay between the GI system and our GI system of the gastrointestinal system and the severity of ASD. So children with ASD, the GI symptoms in children with ASD are among like vary from from 9 to 91%. So depending on what group you're looking at, what kind of symptoms you're looking at, then children with ASD are more likely or 4 times more likely to experience GI problems compared to neurotypical children. And then, as I said, the common include constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and there is a high likelihood that more severe social impairment, more severe are the GI symptoms. So that is another way of saying that, individuals who have severe symptoms, GI symptoms, or show a lot more, ASD symptomology and vice versa, right? So now bringing everything together, let's link the gut-brain axis and the gut microbiome to neurological um, disorders. As I said before, the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that runs from your brain all the way to the epithelial cells in the gut, it is known to convey information from the gut to the brain, information regarding hunger, thirst, temperature regulation, anything and everything to the brain, and that there's bidirectional communication. So the brain in turn sends messages on what to do, what is the task that the gut is supposed to perform in response to the message it gets from the through the vagus nerve. So this bidirectional communication shows that if there is something or anything wrong or anything that is disrupted in the circuitry of the brain may lead to changes within the gut, right? Our gut motility, bowels, which is a motor movement. Motor movements are regulated by, signals from the brain. So, all these leads to think that whether there are any changes, whether there are the changes in the brain lead to changes in the gut, or changes in the gut lead to changes in the brain. One of, we spoke about neurotransmitters earlier, right? So the neurotransmitters that are expressed in the brain, some of them are synthesized in the gut. Serotonin neurotransmitter, which is associated with social behavior, which is associated with neurodevelopment, 80% of the neurotransmitter serotonin is produced in the epithelial cells of the digestive tract. Then catecholamines, meaning dopamine, is also synthesized in the gut. Glutamate, GABA, all these neurotransmitters are synthesized in the gut. So this sort of indicates that, if there is change in any levels of synthesis in the gut, may have a direct effect in the brain, or if there are any changes within the brain in the way these neurotransmitters work or function, could lead to changes in the gut. One of the most elegant study done in, I think, early this year, it was conducted among 43 labs all around the world. And that study showed a change in the microbiome profile in ASD disorder, in autism spectrum disorder. And that study pointed towards that whether the findings did not show that there were only certain microbiome change, but it showed variability over microbiome profile within ASD, within the ASD spectrum. Another study said, okay, yeah, I mean, there's a change in microbiome. However, ASD, typical symptoms of ASD are, or ASD related, their dietary preferences, right? Picky eaters or sensory eating, that could be one of the reasons that the gut microbiome is altered. You know, that could be one of the reasons. Other studies have shown that during early childhood, children with ASD, they have higher frequency of getting infections. And because of those infections, they may have been exposed to antibiotics very early on or more frequently than others. And frequent exposure to antibiotics has also been shown to change or alter gut microbiome significantly. So regardless, whichever hypothesis one believes in, all the evidence points to an altered gut microbiome in ASD, right? So altered gut microbiome, meaning the microorganisms that are within our gut, within our digestive system, which regulate bowel movements, which regulate feeding behavior, our feeding behaviors, which regulate satiety, hunger, all those microbiomes are altered somehow. And the healthy colony has never been able to kind of create a healthy colony because either there is a developmental defect here, or there is an exposure to antibiotic, or whether the feeding behavior or preferences, like, more inclinations towards eating sugary foods or processed food has never been, so all either way, the gut microbiome has never had chance to revive, or the gut microbiome, there was never a healthy colony of gut microbiome that was established, right? So as I said, like our dietary patterns, what we eat, how we regulate our bodily functions, they impact the gut brain axis, right? So the dietary patterns, meaning eating foods that are rich in, that can create rich colony of microbiome, that can create microbiome that can help regulate bowel movement, that can regulate other behaviors, that has a great impact on how our behavior is. I mean, imagine, most of a lot of this came from research, came from Parkinson's research. These findings came from Parkinson's research, where what they showed that when these individuals with Parkinson's, if when they clean their diet, it was a longitudinal study, showed significant improvement in the microbiome, which can be tested. You can test for the gut microbiome, showed significant change in motor behavior. So this led the scientists to study other motor and sensory disorders. With ASD, I think the most that has been studied is 2 years. And further studies are going on, but the gut microbiome study was done, one of the gut microbiome study, which showed that if the microbiome was changed, the behavior change has lasted at least up till 2 years. So this is the most recent finding. Okay. So having talked about dietary changes or dietary patterns that can impact gut-brain axis, just wanted to establish what are the known or nutritional foundations of brain health, right? So it's estimated that about 46 to 89% of children with ASD have nutritional imbalances, right? Many individuals also have sensitivities towards gluten, casein, and some kind of like carbohydrates. So there are different sensitivities, right? Now, majority of the with ASD individuals with nutritional problems, it have been shown to have one or a different microbiome either highly expressed, or meaning higher amount, or lower, right? So what creates, or what can help create a healthy gut, a healthy, happy gut? Um, so let's look at what are our major nutrients, or what are the major nutrients that help brain and body get enough nutrition. So our brain, a small structure compared to our body, uses about 50% of our nutrition, which is, brain uses about glucose, right? Uses glucose. It uses a lot of fat because brain needs about 25% of fat that we eat. The brain uses that, right? So it is very important that the macronutrients, the larger nutrients which are part of our diet, larger nutrients are carbohydrate, fats, proteins, and now even fiber, which comes from complex carbohydrate. That is also considered as a major part of macronutrient. And then the micronutrients, which are essentially these nutrients, you need them for in small quantities, and need them for all the bodily functions and the smallest of cellular processes that happen within our bodies, right? And I'm focusing more on micronutrients that are considered to be essential for good brain health, right? I'm sure everyone has heard about omega-3 fatty acids, DHA, EPA. That is one of the most important omega. Why is omega-3 fatty acid important? Because our brain is made up of, fatty membranes. So fats, omega-3 fatty acids, they are extremely essential in neurotransmitter function in our brain. And so one of the studies done had shown that especially male children with ASD have a lower level of omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids, DHA, EPA. And supplementing them, think almost to 12 weeks when they were supplemented with omega-3 fatty acids, there were changes in mood, and also changes in some of the cognitive markers that was used in the study. Another micronutrient, lutein. Lutein is involved in the visual system, and people who have macular degeneration of the retina, in those individuals given lutein, they had significant improvement. Lutein was also shown, and this is all through diet, not supplements. Okay, the best way your body can, body can absorb nutrients is through a healthy diet. Supplements, as the name itself suggests, they're to supplement. They do not replace the diet. And best way to get lutein is 60 grams, eating 60 grams of spinach every day. Best way to get lutein. So this, what had been shown is in one of the studies that just giving 60 grams of spinach every day in different forms to, this study was done in younger children, improved that visual processing. The speed at which you see, for example, when they play, the speed at which they catch the ball. So that improved visual processing. So that is, and our brain also can use a lot of lutein. Then anthocyanins. Anthocyanins are found in vegetables and fruits that are dark colored. So those are another because they can make free radicals, they break down into free radicals. Um, these are again very important nutrients. Anthocyanins, blueberries, blackberries, you can get from red fruits, strawberries, berries, they're very high in that. And then vitamin B12, C, D, those are again important for optimal brain functions. Antioxidants, again, through dark fruits, vegetables, flavonoids, coffee, cocoa, moringa, those are sources of flavonoids. Choline is again a brain nutrient that is extremely important for acetylcholine neurotransmitter synthesis. Choline can be, from tofu, soy products, a lot of dark leafy vegetables, polyphenols, zinc, iron, all these micronutrients. So micronutrients, once again, are in smaller quantities, but they are needed in smaller quantities, but they are extremely essential. We are always taught to focus on protein, mostly with, or just the American Standard Diet focuses on more on the macronutrients. However, the micronutrients are extremely important in small quantities, but they really are crucial to the smallest functioning in our brain. And of course, when you eat for your brain, you're eating, that nutrition is going everywhere. It's not just going all towards the brain. Okay. So bringing back to our gut-brain axis or microbiome, what kind of diet is optimal? Because now we have established that if we feed our gut healthy, create a healthy environment in there, then the connection between our gut and brain, the bidirectional connection, will improve, will go, it can improve the processing of the brain. So gut microbiome, as we all know, is very, very much, our gut is very happy when it's fed fiber-rich diet, insoluble fiber, pre and probiotics, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory. I mean, there is nothing like anti-inflammatory diet, but we are used to using the word anti-inflammatory diet. So here. So what is anti-inflammatory? Let's start with that. I'm not sure what is called anti-inflammatory, and it is a very general term that people use to say that, and point to certain specific things saying they're anti-inflammatory. The standard American diet, also known as SAD, is actually a gateway to anti-inflammatory factors. And it is a very good way to disrupt our gut microbiome. Why? Because a standard American diet is full of processed food, high sugar, high in sugar, processed food, and it's underplays the importance of micronutrients that are obtained from a whole food plant-rich diet, right? So the only way one can get high fiber or fiber in their food is through plants, because plants are the only source of fiber. No animal food can give you fiber because animal cells do not make fiber. So the only way to get your soluble or insoluble fiber is through whole food plant-rich diet. And if you eat a whole food plant-rich diet, it is a naturally anti-inflammatory diet because it does not contain additives. It does not contain processed products. It does not contain, any artificial preservatives, dyes, or plant-rich diet doesn't come with casein, right? And it reduces inflammation. It is a naturally anti-inflammatory diet. And it also helps reduce lower cholesterol because plants do not have cholesterol. Plants do not make cholesterol. Only animals can make cholesterol. Remember, plants make fiber, animal cells have cholesterol. That's how we are made. That's how plants are made. So what keeps our gut microbes happy is fiber. And a whole food plant-rich diet has abundant of fiber, has abundant of micronutrients, gives you macronutrients, right? So that is the word. A whole food plant-rich diet it equals to a happy gut microbiome. So let's see, what are the different sources of fiber? So, insoluble fiber, apples, barley, beans, carrots, these are all great insoluble form of fiber. And insoluble fiber is beans, nut, that's the fiber. So our body has a great capacity or has inherent capacity to break down proteins, because there are enzymes in our body that will break down proteins, and fats. Fats will also be broken down very easily. However, our body has a very hard time digesting complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are whole grains, beans, legumes, vegetables, fruits. And why it has hard time breaking down complex carbohydrates? Because complex carbohydrates have 3 or more sugar, which are tightly bound. And to break that down, it takes enormous energy, and it's a very slow digestive process, which is amazing because it slowly digests. So it regulates your blood sugar. Your blood sugar doesn't go high, and it takes a while to digest. So your gut or your digestive system is full. You are satiated till the complete digestion process takes place. So one of the ways, and when the digestion process takes place, since it's slow digestive, it creates a lot of fiber. And then what happens, the fiber cannot be digested. So when your fiber goes through your digestive tract, it rubs it like a scrub. When we use the scrub on our face, the same way the fiber rubs against the walls of the intestine, and it scrapes away dead cells and things that are not good for your lining of the intestine. Slowly and through the bowel movement, all those things pass away, and the fiber still sits there, and what it creates is microorganisms, because it's like a fermentation process. Simple. Those fibers sit there, and it creates microorganism, and it creates a new flora. So if you are aiming towards changing gut microbiome, fiber is the ingredient you want to go through. And remember, only a whole food, plant rich diet can get fiber. Okay. So pre and probiotics. So again, these are another ways to, great way to and have a enrich to create microorganisms in your gut. So we know yogurt. Then nowadays there is a kombucha, the fermented tea. It has active bacteria or active microbes. So that also is a great way to create, a healthy gut. Fiber-rich foods, as I say, vegetables, fruits, grains, starchy food, potatoes, sweet potato, starch-rich food, rice, meaning whole grain rice. These are all great way to create pre and probiotic microorganisms in the gut. And so after fiber, antioxidants. So another way to get our micronutrients, earlier as I said, antioxidants. So vitamin C, getting through broccoli, Brussels sprouts, tomatoes, vitamin E, beta carotene. All these are antioxidants, and these are plenty available in all different kinds of fruits and vegetables, grains, beans, um, all the whole food plant-based. So it is minimally processed, but it's whole food, not processed. So not flour, whole grain flour. When you look at, beans, lentils, they are all whole foods. Okay. So just to give you a little blurb about, when you fill up on whole foods or whole plant foods, is this the same calories, right? See, a calorie of 400 calories of oil, how much is it? How much do you, when you can look at your stomach, it does not fill it that much. Cheese, meats, however, fruits and veggies, this is 400 calories of fruits and veggies, which completely fills you up, because the magic word is fiber, because diet rich in fiber tends to fill you up. Okay, so having said that, now the challenge is how to introduce these new foods, right? That's the challenge. So some ways to introduce these would be, it is not an overnight, as we all know, that this is not an overnight or cold turkey way of introducing something new. This is a journey. And I feel like, years being in this, it's like, it's always new learning. It is always trying to introduce new things in a way that, you know, that not to force change upon, not a forced way. So a good way to introduce would be to try it with similar foods. For example, if broccoli is a safe food, then might as well try, maybe try cauliflower with it, right? Um, you know, it's similar in texture, color is different, looks wise it's similar. Do half and half, try to introduce, something, maybe have little bit with safe foods, it may work, right? Um, Maybe try to build off textures that are preferred. So if the preference is more like texture-based food, try to create similar textures with new foods, right? Um, Also, like, we are visual eaters, right? Our eyes get attracted to food that is visually appealing. Having different colors present around. So having like a bowl of fruit sitting on a dining table, right? It's just the everyday looking at the same thing. Maybe there's a chance one day, something might catch the eye. So having those healthy foods around, having those foods that you want, you know, the child to try just within the vision, within the periphery of vision, it really creates interest, creates curiosity, and it's within the reach. So there is a chance that one day it will come, one day the child will gravitate to it and try it. So it's like trying to attract them through using different sense. Vision is the best. I find, most of us are visual people. So that is one of the best ways. Smells, right? Maybe cut it and put it there. You never know. There's a chance that that will be touched and put it in the mouth. So just trying to introduce these foods in a way that they are not directly, they may not be, if they don't like to, sort of directly try it, maybe try to introduce in different ways, right? Something about meal planning. So the way to get ahead in this game is plan, plan, plan. Meal planning sounds tedious in the beginning, right? However, it is one of the best ways. I have been doing that for about 12 years, and now it's a habit. Um, creating recipes that are easy, creating meals that are easy, they don't take multi-step, right? Creating something that can be done way ahead of time. So for easier foods for breakfast, creating sauces, right? We create sauces, pasta sauces with different vegetables blended in it. If you think texture is preferred, then it can be chopped in food processor. Food processor is one of the best. I love my food processor, and it's one of the best ways to get hard work done. You can create textures by blending in nuts, vegetables, cooked vegetables. Mushrooms are also great if they are liked. Mushrooms are a great way of creating meaty texture. So, when you run them through processor, if you prefer chopping, go the good old way, but you can run them through food processor and create different textures in food, right? If the smooth food, if the preference is smooth food, that is easy. You can boil it, or cook it to make it smooth. But food processor does an amazing job at creating different textures. Vegetables, cooked, boiled, roasted, air fried, the same vegetable. Potato could be boiled, mashed potato. Potato could be roasted, nice and crisp. It could be air fried, again, nice and crisp. So different ways of cooking the vegetable can create different textures. And you never know. one of the textures could be a hit, right? And then, as I said, incorporating whole grains. Whole grains may not be palatable just by themselves, but you can use that in pasta sauces. I use it in pesto also, like use quinoa in a pesto, broccoli, spinach, basil, quinoa pesto. So, there are ways of sneaking this in, and whole grains really create amazing textures. You can use them if you like burgers. We make black bean, quinoa beet burger. So you can hide so many of healthy ingredients in just one, right? So these are just some different ways to sort of incorporate all these healthy plant-rich food in diets. Then noodles, right? Noodles or pasta. I'm not sure if you tried zucchini pasta. They're also available in stores, but that can be created also using, you can get a noodle maker, pasta noodle. They really look amazing. They also have a nice texture when you create, they have a nice crunch to it. Zucchini, sweet potato pasta, using a pasta spiralizer. That's what it's called, spiralizer. A great way to incorporate veggies. Um, then we create a pasta sauce called bolognese, veg bolognese, using tomatoes, onions, carrots, celery, nuts, walnuts. Walnuts are very high in omega-3 fatty acids. Great source of nutrient to the brain. So if there are no nut allergies, then walnuts are a great addition to any smoothies, any pasta sauces, or any burgers. If nut allergies, then you can always use seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. They can be used the same way. For sweetening, to use any sweetener, date paste is a great way. All you do is soak some dates overnight or for a few hours, and then make a nice paste with a little bit water. It adds really amazing sweetness, and it adds depth to some desserts. We make desserts with chickpeas. You can make cookie dough with chickpeas, black bean brownies, sweet potato brownies. So many ways to, and then you can sweeten them with either ripe bananas or date paste. Great way to make a dessert. Well, here are some pictures that can show that's a proof. So these are some ways, like, make oatmeal blueberry cookies. Then these are ways to incorporate fruits, making them more visually appealing. This is the same thing. This is a burrito wrap, and this is a bowl, same thing. If you don't like wrap, then eat it as a bowl, right? So many great ways. Avocado toast. And this is another example of creating, having foods with different textures, different colors on the same plate. And another example, if texture is liked, you can create crackers with textures. You can create cookies with oats, and so those are more like, they give a good mouthfeel. We make chickpea cookie dough. So very easy. Boiled canned chickpeas, drain them, add a little date paste, vanilla extract, run them through a food processor, add a little bit cinnamon, and then chocolate chips. They make great chocolate chip cookie dough. Again, a great way to get a little, for the sweet tooth, plus a great way to get fiber and other nutrients in it. Some examples of some foods that noodles are some different kind of noodles. They have, like, they're half and half, meaning they have semolina. But they also have chickpeas in them. So a good way to get something, store-bought noodles, which don't have texture like or flavor like the whole grain noodles, but they are liked. Then fruit rolls, which are 100% fruit, made with 100% fruit, another great way, with different texture, right? And as I said, like, vegetable, same vegetable in a different way, boiled, roasted, pressure cooked, microwave, bake, air fry, all different textures and different flavors, right? So in short, there are, to end, as we saw, there are our gut and brain now we know that there is a lot of crosstalk, and the gut brain axis regulates behaviors, emotions, and also higher order cognitive processing because of the amazing microbiome or microbiota that is in the gut. And it produces the same chemicals, neurotransmitters that are produced in the brain. And 80% of neurotransmitter serotonin that regulates behavior, emotions, that is produced in our gut. So empowering ourselves through nutrition and supporting a great gut health can support cognitive function and can have good behavioral outcomes. Introducing foods that can help create this amazing, environment within our digestive system, and that can support bowel movement, that can support digestive health as well as cognitive health. It has a longer lasting effect. This is again a journey. This is not an overnight process. For some, it may take few weeks, for some it may take months, for some it may take years, but this is one of the ways to have an effect that is longer lasting. Using strategies, each one of us, we know like what is preferred, what are the foods are preferred, what textures are preferred, using that information to create strategies, meal planning strategies, which can incorporate healthy foods or whole plant foods, which supports gut health, can have great outcomes. Having said that, I have references for anything. If anyone needs any references to studies or anything, please feel free to reach out. I can send you a whole list of studies that I have used here and more. Having said that, thank you all for spending a weekday evening with me. And especially thank you to SKN Foundation, Scope, for making me part of something that is such a big mission. That you guys really are doing something so amazing. So I'm very, very thankful to you for including me. And World Vegan Vision, which is a nonprofit organization, which our mission, I'm the New Jersey president of World Vegan Vision, and our mission is to create awareness about health, environment, and compassion just through a whole food plant-based diet. Thank you, everyone. And now I'm going to open it up for any questions.
Kalindi, one of the questions people are asking is whether you'll share the slide with the slide that you presented, I think for the families to look at it at a leisure time.
Sure. I will share that.
Yeah. And then we have another question, which says, we Indians eat a lot of cooked vegetable. One second, something is blocking the. So they are asking whether they need to eat vegetables like raw or like salad. If is it okay if vegetables are cooked, or should it be in salad form to get the nutrition? Are they missing out on anything?
So some vegetables like dark green, leafy vegetables are better if you eat raw. However, cooking is not like, cooking is fine too. Yes, there is a nutrient loss, best eaten raw, but then again, some vegetables like tomatoes, cooking actually releases lycopene, which is a great nutrient. So it's not that all vegetables be cooking is fine.
I don't know if it's just for me, but I think you were breaking up, Kalindi.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
yes,
I froze. I froze.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, I froze. Sorry. Can you repeat the question?
yeah. So it was about the salad.
Was there a question of
Yeah, there are some more questions. What is your take on gluten-free and dairy-free?
So gluten-free is, there are people who have celiac. Of course, gluten, for those individuals, gluten is out of question. There are people who have intolerances towards gluten, and it is best avoided if you're intolerant. However, gluten, one of the things with gluten in especially in US, is it has been modified over the years. The wheat has been modified so much. The genetically modification has occurred so much that the properties of the grain itself have changed. Now, the same individuals, if they eat gluten, this is with tolerance. They eat gluten in Europe, they don't see any symptoms, right? So if the symptoms, if you see symptoms that if the food does not suit you, there are a lot of other alternatives to gluten that you can incorporate or enjoy as well. And dairy free, we propose a whole food plant-based diet, meaning we don't, in what I personally do not consume dairy or any animal products. And dairy, has one of the things that you want to try to avoid is sugar. Dairy does have sugar, dairy does have cholesterol, so it is best if it's avoided. And also, what it is in a lot of products that you see, and mostly the products that are highly processed, they all have dairy in it. So if dairy can be avoided, that is the best way.
Okay, there is a question that came directly only to me.
Uh-huh.
So they are asking any suggestion foods for people with ADHD and dyslexia.
One of the foods that is, most of the foods that I have suggested or we spoke about, they are actually, studies, because I mixed, I couldn't find only studies that were with ASD. There were studies, they were used in, they were tried in kids with ADHD. So most of the foods that I've described, they will be good for any other neurodiverse, issues. So ADHD, again, omega-3, 6 fatty acids through a diet, one of the best ways to incorporate that. And any of the foods we spoke about, they are great for even that ADHD.
We have another person asking about ghee. What is your take on ghee?
As I said, I am a proponent of a whole food plant-based diet. So if it doesn't come from plants, I don't eat it and I don't promote that product. So, I don't think if you're a ghee, I personally don't eat and I do not recommend, but I'm not sure what the question is.
Yeah, they're just asking for your opinion, what you think about ghee.
Yeah, I don't think that any of ghee is necessary or needed as a nutrient.
We have a parent asking about can you talk about binge food disorder?
Binge food meaning
I don't
eating in
like,
a binge.
yes, because do you want to unmute and elaborate what your question is?
Dr. Bakshi, thank you so very much. First of all, I must compliment you for a wonderful presentation that you've given so far, and it's indeed very, very enlightening. So, thank you so very much. I indeed, I have joined in capacity of Director of Development at SKN Foundation for this meeting. So, thank you so very much. My question to you was related with binge food disorder. So many folks out at all age groups, whether it is a child or a youth, grown up, we all have bad habits of binge eating, and it could be anything. It could be healthy snack or a bad snack, but it's binge eating. It has a lot impact on neurological,
Right.
how our brain functions. I'm doing my work, but maybe I'm binging on something, having peanuts or something or the other. I'm just saying in general, what impact could it have on our health and our functionality?
So binge eating. We are used to, or first of all, thank you so much, Vikas, for joining in. And again, thank you to SKN for this opportunity. Now, binge eating, as I said before, our American standard diet or any of the snacks that we are used to binge eat, we obviously don't binge eat carrots, we don't binge eat cucumbers or tomatoes. Binge eating, I associate with any of the processed snacks. They, we have this reward system in our brain, right? I spoke about dopamine earlier. Um, some of the binge eating behavior, it actually is regulated through the reward system. The way the snacks are created, they are created because when we eat those snacks, they have that kind of texture, flavor, the sodium in it. All those together are especially designed to hit our reward system. You eat one bag, you sit with if you sit with a bowl of carrots, tell me how much you can binge eat. You sit with a bowl of cucumbers, tell me how much you can binge eat. Nuts, eat raw nuts. If if you really want to see how many you can eat. Raw meaning no salt, nothing, just raw, okay? Dry roasted without salt, you will not be able to eat as much. So it is as we talked about the neurotransmitter systems, and as we talked about the connection between our gut and neurotransmitter systems, right? If we eat processed foods that are high in sodium, high in all these additives, preservatives, your reward system will be triggered and you will want to eat more. But if you switch to whole plant foods, like as I said, like carrots, edamame, sit with a bowl of just dry nuts, not one of those from the bags that have flavor in it or anything. Trust me, you will not binge eat that. I hope I answered your question.
No, true, absolutely, I agree. I mean, since I've seen this as a common, now it has become as a habit, actually. That's why, I asked you that question.
Right. And same thing as I was talking earlier, like within your visual system, within the periphery of vision, try to keep whole foods, like try to keep bowls of fruits, different colorful fruits, then try to keep like very small jars of nuts that are not, without just dry roasted nuts. That's what they're called. Just try to keep within your periphery. So if you keep all those foods, you will eventually just reach out to those healthy foods. And if you fill yourself up with whole plant foods, fruits, vegetables, believe me, that will actually cut down on the binge eating. Carry a big bottle of water. Hydration, another thing we didn't touch upon. Carry a big bottle of water. When you feel the desire to eat, drink water. So that also really helps.
Wonderful. Thank you for the insight.
You're welcome.
Kalindi, there's one more question.
Anji.
Other foods, can you talk about, can you recommend other foods for omega-3?
So omega-3, great way of getting omega-3, chia seeds, sunflower seeds, flax, flax, not seeds, but ground flax, because seeds just pass through the system. Our system doesn't have an ability to break, flax seeds. So ground flax seeds, all these ingredients, amazing source of omega-3 fatty acids. Walnuts, well, yeah, sure.
My question on the flax seeds is, does it matter if the okay, I'm going to rephrase. What is the best way to have flax seeds? I know ground flax seeds, but is it okay if they are put in cooked food, or do they need to be eaten raw?
So ideally, you can put it in smoothies. You can sprinkle it over your salads. You can, add it in any of the like salads, smoothies, you can just take a spoonful of flax seeds, and little goes a long way. So, in this cases, any micronutrients you're eating, any nuts, seeds, little goes a long way. Hemp
Uh,
seeds.
what I meant to ask was if they are put in cooked food, if they are heated, does it lose do they lose the nutrients?
I think in case of flax, the nutritional value reduces when you heat it up. So that's why, like, even chia flax, we tend to not cook it that much.
Yeah, because my son won't have any smoothies, won't have any salads, nothing. So it's impossible for me to put them into any cold foods, as I would say. I try to put them in atta while making
Yeah,
rotis, or
right.
in vegetables, or
Yeah, you can
in
definitely put it in
parathas.
your,
Yeah, parathas. I just
yeah.
about put it in everything in
Yeah.
those.
You can put it in then. We usually put it in burgers and we make a lot of burgers because those are a hit here. And I tend to put everything burgers, and also for, I find it very easy because I can put in veggies, I can put in beans, I can put in nuts, and everything goes through.
Yes. Thank you.
We have one more person. Today's world is so full of preservatives and pesticides. Even plants are affected from that. How how to save ourselves from such a trap and find the right plant food for us? Are organic foods real good?
So I would say, if you can, organic is a good way to go, or, and there is always, you can go on the EPA website. There are like dirty dozens, meaning those are the top plants or vegetables that you should consume, meaning fruits or vegetables you should consume, ideally organic. But if it's not organic, then I prefer farmers market. But there is, pesticides, and those things are around. There is no way to kind of, around it. Organic would be one of the best ways to go for it. Farmers market, and then wash the vegetables carefully. Look at what vegetables they have, the tougher ones with the peel, they are more protected versus the ones that berries are. I think they come in the dirty dozen. Berries, leaves, green leafy vegetables, they are sprayed with organic. So try to get organic if you're going to do green leafy vegetables and berries.
We have another question. Do you recommend any must-have supplement for kids? What about 40 plus adults? Should we be taking calcium, multivitamins, etc.?
So what supplements you should be taking best is, ask your medical provider, depending on your blood work, depending on what your nutritional deficiencies are. I would ask the medical provider, or, get blood work. But having said that, the best way to get your nutrients is through your diet. If getting those nutrients through diet is not enough, then you resort to supplements. But try and get everything that you can from your diet.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kalindi. You have been like a treasure house of information. I would request Kshitija, can you launch the poll?
Yeah, before launching the poll, I had a question for all the participants who have joined us today.
Okay.
Is it okay if we take a screenshot of all the participants? If anybody wants to turn on their camera, they're most welcome to, or not. I mean, just let me know if you're okay or not.
And I have shared my email address, so, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, if I can help in any way.
Okay.
If I don't know, I can look up and point you to the resource if that is helpful.
Thank you so much for whoever has turned on the camera. I'm going to take a quick screenshot.
So I want to thank Dr. Kalindi Thank you so much. And I know before we had our meeting today, you met with us a couple of times to cater the workshop to our family. So we have thank you so much for that, for your care in putting together so much information. It was very useful for us to understand our kids better and what will help them. So thank you so much for taking the time.
And thank you once again, Shadija, Ashwini, and SKN Foundation Scope for inviting me. And I have again shared my email address in the chat. Please feel free to reach out to me. Also, I have lots of recipes and stuff. Anybody wants, I'm very, very happy to share with Ashwini, and Shadija, and you can circulate them.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. It was a very interesting workshop and lot of good information. Thank you.
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.